I'd like to welcome you to our Saturday night joyful gathering, inspirational talk, and affirmative prayer. My name is Reverend Margaret Palagye. I'm the founding minister at Joyful Gathering Spiritual Center, which is located in Westmont, New Jersey. I'm so happy that you have joined us this evening. And I'd like to let you know that besides Facebook Live, we also have a YouTube channel, Rev Margaret Palagye. And I hope you, if you don't see all of this, you can see some of the talks we have up on the YouTube channel. All of our events, we have 2 classes coming up. They're all on joyfulgathering.org. We have Return to Love. It's a Marianne Williamson book that it's based upon. And I'll be teaching that with Reverend Rita Biancasino. So that's going to be happening on July 7th, a Tuesday, at 7 p.m. on the website. Also, one of our practitioners, Dana Smith, will be teaching it sounds like a really great class, Mastering Life Through Visioning. So that's something you might want to check out. And we also have the fabulous Martha Creek coming via Zoom. This is all via Zoom, by the way. She's coming on July 11th, and all that information is also on the website, joyfulgathering.org. Please, while you're there, why don't you just make a nice little donation to Joyful Gathering, because we really appreciate that. It helps keep us going. Besides God, we need all of you. So, tonight, what I would like to do is talk about personal transformation. We're going to talk about getting real about personal transformation and what it actually means. And there's a beautiful passage in Corinthians chapter 2 that says this: "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come." The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come. That's a profound idea, and I want to really get into what that means tonight, what it actually means. It means that we're in the middle of change, and change is inevitable. You may be sitting there thinking that transformation is what I want, that's for sure, but I'll pass on that change portion. No, you cannot change. It does not work like that. You have to change, or you stay right where you are while the change is taking place in the comfort zone that we all like, but change takes place anyway. And my friends, I'm afraid that life doesn't work without that change, because whether we initiate change or not, whether we want change or not, whether we like change or not, life is ever creating, ever moving forward, and ever presenting us with opportunities for our personal transformation and our growth, which requires change. And if there ever was a time in our lives where huge change was taking place, as you all know, right now, it's in our faces. No escaping it. Changes in health, perhaps, with the COVID-19 going around. Changes in where we can go, what we can do. All of this is taking place right now. Change in equality. We have all the protesting going on. And which by the way, equal rights is a God-given right. It's God-given, and that's something we all should remember. We might be having changes in our employment, where we are working, if we are working. There's so much, the list goes on and on. Change is inevitable. Growth is optional. Got to remember that. We're going to get into that tonight. I want us to look at two things this evening: the inevitability of change and the growth that comes from it if we allow it. First, change is inevitable. And there is another similar saying about change, which I'm sure you might have heard also. The only thing certain about life is change. Change is going to occur in our lives. Change we initiate, and change we don't. Change we label good, and those changes that we label bad. Some of us embrace the good changes, or changes that we might consciously initiate ourselves, while others fear any change whatsoever. And what I want to do right now is to get real about this personal transformation business by laying a foundation for moving through change. Since it's going to happen anyway, we might as well really know what our tools are. And it doesn't make any difference what type of change we're talking about, small, large. The magnitude is of no importance here. Whatever the change is that's in your face, I want you to know that there is a foundation on which you can stand. And that's so important for us to remember. And I want to modify the saying that I gave you a minute ago. The only thing certain in life is change. Let's say instead, the only two things certain in life, no, it's not death and taxes. The only two things that are certain in life are change and God, a higher power. For sure, those are timeless. And guess what? God is changeless. And that's what I want us to really remember. This higher power, this infinite source of life itself, is changeless. Ernest Holmes affirms this concept for many of us, many times in all of his writings. And he wrote this: we are all living in a world of continual change, a world in which thought, things, and experiences are all in a constant state of flux. It is the very nature of the universe that there should be continual change and evolution. But behind that which changes, behind that which causes the change, he writes, we have found that there is something stable and changeless, something eternal upon which all of the external events depend upon. And behind that endless process of changing and the infinite variety of experience and expression, there is one thing which does not change. And the last line is so powerful that we need to hear it again. Behind the endless process of change and the infinite variety of experiences and expression, there is that which never changes. The divine is the changeless in the ever-changing. Hear that. The divine is the changeless in the ever-changing. That is the spiritual truth which keeps me going. And I hope that you can take this in on that level. So change, yes, is inevitable. But behind it, there is a solid foundation which can lead us to the second part of the theme this evening, which is change is inevitable, but growth is optional. And that's the part where we can take responsibility. And just listen as an example to what the master teacher, Jesus of Nazareth, said. Whoever comes to me and hears my sayings and does nothing is like a man who built a house on the earth without a foundation. And when the floods arose, the streams beat vehemently against that house, and immediately it fell. and the ruins of that house were great. But he who hears my words and follows them is like a man building a house who dug deep and laid the foundation on the rock, against which the stream beat vehemently but could not shake it. For it was founded on the rock, a strong foundation. And what did he mean by hear my words and follow them? He told us over and over again to live a spiritual life, to trust in God as our sole support, to seek first the kingdom of heaven, and all else will be added unto us. Seek first the kingdom of heaven, and we seek it within ourselves, because that is where our divine connection lies, right there within each and every one of us. In other words, to keep our spiritual vision clear. That is how we build a foundation on rock, which will weather the storm of any change whatsoever in our lives, any change whatsoever, and which will allow us to grow through the change. And I really believe that every change that comes into our lives can carry us forward if we will let it. Every change has within it the possibility of good if we will embrace it. And change will never carry us backward if we can keep our spiritual vision clear. And notice all those ifs. I'm going to go over them quickly again, just in case you might have missed them. Every change that comes into your life can carry you forward if you allow it. Every change has within it the possibility of good if you allow it. And every change will never carry you backward if you keep your spiritual vision clear. I love that. And that's to remind us to stay aligned to this infinite power of good. In Science of Mind, Dr. Ernest Holmes writes this: nature will not let us stay in any one place too long. She will let us stay just long enough to gather the experiences necessary to the unfolding and the advancement of the soul. Our soul is growing. And let us remember also that any change, whatever the magnitude of it is, when one door shuts, another door does open. I've seen this time and time again in my own personal life, but there you have those big ifs. We have to be open to it. When a door closes and locks shut, we have an opportunity with the Spirit of God within us to find an open door. And there's always one. There truly is always an open door. When we have patience, faith, love to look for that open door, we will always find it. And that is where I know the personal transformation takes place. When all those changes are happening, we stay open. We stay open and know that we are supported by a divine power for good all of the time. Helen Keller once said, when one door of happiness closes, another opens. But we so often look so long at the closed door that we do not see the one that is open before us. Your growth comes when you do not allow change in your life to become a closed door. A closed door that bars your path to progress. Know that every change is leading you onto something greater. Truly, when we carry that kind of awareness and consciousness, it always unfolds that way. Really, don't believe me? Try it. It really works. Here's an affirmation that you can use. I know that only good can come of this. I don't know how, but I know that only good can come from this. And if you're like me and love Emma Curtis Hopkins, she's a little bit stronger in how she demands her good. She says, this too is God. This too is good. This too is for me. And I demand to see the blessing in it. She demands to see the blessing in it. We can use those words and demand to see the blessing. The law of attraction is always working. The law of God is always working. Always working. Before they call, I will answer, we are told in the Bible. We need simply to lift our awareness to the level of God's answer. There's always an answer that comes in with any kind of problem. It serves us tremendously to remember where we are and who we are, and to reestablish our connection with our unchanging spiritual reality and the infinite good that is ever available, even when we cannot see it, because most of the time when we're in the experience, we can't see the good. What good, we might say? There's no good here. This is awful. This is terrible. But that belief, that faith in the infinite good of the divine, this infinite energy that has created all that was and all that is and all that ever can be, is always present for us all of the time, all of the time. So today I urge you not to resist change in whatever form it may come, but instead to know and see it as a chance to grow and progress. If we ask ourselves, what lessons am I to learn here? Truly, I promise you, you will receive answers. This is taking place. What am I to learn from this experience? And I urge each and every one of us, myself too, not to be afraid of change, because it can be mighty scary, but rather to be ready to make each change a step forward to a new understanding of fulfillment, happiness, joy of living. And we can do this because we know that we are supported in the change by that which never changes. The infinite life of the divine, our own divinity, is changeless. And that's what we align with. We build our foundation on that solid rock of faith. That's what I encourage all of us to do. And let us remain steadfast in our spiritual beliefs. Know that as divine beings, no matter what the experience is that we're going through, the power will always lie in the eternal truth that we each have within us. We each have this eternal truth within us. We are heirs to the kingdom of good. I declare this. Remember that this too shall pass, and our transformation will forever unfold. And it will unfold for our very highest and best good. Just breathe that in with me before I go into affirmative prayer. Just breathe that in. Ah, yes.